Coming up on Broncos Connected. After suffering a season-ending injury in 2020, wide receiver Courtland Sutton shares what he's doing to ensure he's back to full health in time for the 2021 season. Head coach Vic Fangio describes what it's been like working alongside general manager George Paton as they gear up for free agency and the draft. And we'll show you how the Denver Broncos Cheerleaders are preparing for preliminary auditions coming up at the end of the month. Broncos Connected is next.
And a pleasant good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Empower Field at Mile High.
Locke avoids a rush, throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver!
If you're not excited about this, not sure you're alive.
Welcome inside the UC Health Training Center for another edition of Broncos Connected. I'm Alexis Perry. Throughout the 2020 season, every team was forced to adapt to the ever-changing circumstances surrounding the most extraordinary year in NFL history. While the Denver Broncos were able to prepare to some degree for most COVID-related situations, there was absolutely no way they could have prepared themselves for the number of significant injuries suffered by their biggest stars. After racking up over 1,100 receiving yards in 2019, wideout Courtland Sutton was primed for his best season yet, until an ACL tear in Week 2 sidelined him for the rest of the season. While the injury was initially devastating, Sutton quickly turned the page and saw this as an opportunity to come back even stronger.
And wide receiver from Southern Methodist, number 14, Courtland Sutton.
Sutton makes a diving effort, and he hauls it in for a Denver touchdown.
Intercepted and still on his feet. Sutton trying to rip the ball out of the hands of the defensive back, but Courtland Sutton, who injured his left leg in making the tackle. And just when you think it couldn't possibly get worse, it does.
We're able to see Courtland Sutton on the bench. His body language says he's okay.
You know, so initially when it happened, I didn't know that the injury was as severe as it was. I thought that, I just got hit. It's one of the things, you shake it off, get up and keep it moving. So I went to the sideline thinking that, I got another series in. We get the ball back before half, I got another series in me. And something just didn't feel right. I think initially there was denial. Like I was like, there's no way I hurt it that bad. If anything, it's just swollen. It'll go down and I'll be ready for next week. Once I found out that it had happened and that I had, tore my ACL, I had a moment. I gave myself a good 40 seconds. I say a good solid 40 seconds of dang, this, my season's over. I told myself when it first happened that I wasn't gonna allow this to be something that I sat down and sulked on, that I let beat me up. I was gonna attack it every single day, knowing that there are people who have had this injury and came back and done, remarkable things. And, having somebody like Vaughn, who was in the training room with me at the time when I got hurt, having somebody like that next to me definitely helped a lot, because you have somebody like that that's, been through it and was going through another injury and was still grinding his butt off in there. It just gave me the confidence to know that, if I came in every day with the right mindset to get myself better, then the sky's the limit at the end. I had to learn how to walk again, which is the wildest thing to think about. No one ever thinks about, something as simple as just walking. I had to learn how to just deal with what was going on in the moment. I couldn't change what was going on in the moment. However, I could, work on putting myself in the best situation so that I wouldn't be back in that spot again. Being able to take each day, and I call them daily wins. Every day there should be something that you find that you have a daily win. There's no day that I should come up here and say, it was another day. If I ever have a day like that, then I didn't go out and I didn't put my best foot forward, and I refuse to allow myself to do that, because I tell Albert this all the time. I'm like, you gotta remember, bro, if you ever, cheat a rep, cheat a set, or, don't go as hard as you can. At the end of the day, the only person that you're hurting is yourself.
Judy at the 5, Judy at the goal line, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler.
I watched every game, and so, Mondays when I would come in, I had my treatment. Every time I would see guys, I'd be like, hey, I seen this, you can try this, or I saw this, you could try this, or hey, bro, you did this really, really good, yesterday. Keep working on it, keep doing what you're doing. And being able to have those moments with guys was something that I definitely cherished, because not having the game, not being able to go play the game, definitely was unfortunate. But being able to still see my guys go out there and play the game and go and do what they do at a high level, and to see stuff that they might not have seen, and to be able to help them with that, and then be like, oh man, I didn't think about it like that, but I was wondering about it. To hear those type of things, those type of conversations, it's really cool to know that you can still have an impact there, even though it's not technically on the field.
Goes up and over and makes a spectacular catch.
Throws to the end zone. Touchdown, Denver, Courtland Sutton.
Every day it's a battle of me versus me with rehab, and as I said before, I take it very serious. I take each day of work that I get to come out here and put in, I take it very serious. So being able to, have 9 months plus some of just me grinding and focusing on myself and working on myself, it's gonna be scary. You have Jerry and KJ, who were both rookies last year. You give them a year experience under their belt, where they got thrown into the fire. They got thrown into a situation that they weren't expecting to get put in the season, and they handled it the best that anybody could ask them to go out there and handle it. They went out there and battled their butts off every week, and it was so fun to be able to see them dudes and how their game has changed from when they first got here to the end of the season, and to know that all of that progress that they had, and knowing that I know that they're out working right now to get ready to come back in next year to continue that. It excites me even more, because having just so many weapons, all the weapons that we do have, it's scary. And I do think that defenses are going to have a hard time, trying to figure out ways to solve the mismatches, because, you have Albert and Noah both bring mismatches in the inside. And then if you choose to try to go one-on-one with any of the guys on the outside, somebody's going to be left on the island. It's going to be a little vulnerable. So I do think that it's going to stretch a couple defenses thin, and I'm looking forward to, actually being able to put a full season together with the boys and make defenses actually have to go out there and, put together schemes against us, because it's not going to be easy. I know that it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be a show for sure.
Still to come on Broncos Connected, head coach Vic Fangio talks about the state of the team on the precipice of free agency.
Welcome back to Broncos Connected. March 17th marks the official start of the 2021 league year, meaning for the Denver Broncos, the build continues. With a 5-11 record in 2020, there is plenty of room for improvement. Head coach Vic Fangio has a firm grasp on the Broncos' biggest needs in 2021, and general manager George Paton has a blueprint to bolster the Broncos roster. With the official free agency period beginning on Wednesday, Matt Boyer asked Coach Fangio about some of the ways the front office and football staff plan to attack this offseason.
Coach, last we talked at the end of the 2020 season, you mentioned how year one was pretty smooth, but then year two is when, the COVID protocols, the injuries, the early phone calls and texts with all the protocols happened. You were hoping, you said at the time, for a magical year three. How has the infancy of year three started for you so far?
It's been good. We've back in the building, meeting as a staff. George with some of the scouts and personnel guys are back in the building, and we're meeting there. So it's felt like a normal off-season to a degree. We still meet in big rooms where we're properly spaced, not in our normal meeting rooms. But I believe we're off to a good start and really looking forward to the off-season.
Obviously, the focus is going to be free agency, the draft, adding new players, but in just thinking about the injured players that you can bring back, you mentioned in your press conference 2 off seasons, getting the injured guys back, but then also injecting new talent. For those injured guys, how much of a lift can that be getting those guys healthy, guys like Courtland Sutton, Alberto, those guys who have been rehabbing here at the facility?
Oh, it'll be a big lift, and there's no doubt we missed them. We missed them, obviously we missed their play, but we missed them being around. They're an integral part of our team on a daily basis. They bring positive energy, good karma throughout the building. You don't just win games on Sunday, you win them on Mondays through Saturdays also, so that will be a big part too. And we're looking forward to getting all those guys back. I'm happy to report that all the rehabs and recuperations are going smoothly and guys are doing good.
You and George have been on the job together for a little bit over a month now, and how has that relationship grown? And what have you learned about George that, I know obviously he's got a great reputation around the league, but what is maybe something that you learned about him that you didn't necessarily know coming into working with him?
Well, he's a grinder. He doesn't really wear a watch on his wrist. He's working long hours, going from one thing to the next. Been impressed with his knowledge of the league, meaning personnel. Been impressed with his ability to communicate with the rest of the league. He's got a great pipeline, great relationships with agents, all kind of agents, great relationships and pipelines with everybody that in the periphery of the NFL world. And he really works it hard. I've been thoroughly impressed with his work ethic and everything, and his knowledge of the job.
The 2020 rookies, guys like Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler, Lloyd Christianberry, a lot was made about the fact that there wasn't a normal offseason, and they would have greatly benefited from a quote-unquote normal offseason. And thinking about now, they're going into their second year, those second-year guys, is it going to be easier this offseason, assuming there isn't a mostly in-person off-season? Do you think they'll have an easier time adjusting, and how can those guys kind of make up for what they lost last off-season?
Well, you never can make up for it. That's a lot of work that was lost that you don't get back. Hopefully we'll have a more normal off-season this year. We still don't know what it will look like. I'd like to think we'll be on the field some, we'll be in person meeting some, but none of that's been determined as of this point, but we are optimistic. And that's what players need. The ideal way of teaching players is, yes, you have a meeting, you explain it to them through the board, through video, but then you need to go out and execute it. And then you come back in and evaluate it and learn some more. When you're just constantly meeting without the field time, it's not as good, obviously.
With this offseason and the salary cap, we've heard a lot about the veteran players that may come available because of the salary cap this season. And how do those veteran guys, those high caliber veterans that we might not necessarily see in previous years, how do they factor into the roster makeup versus, drafting and developing certain players?
You're always weighing your options for the very next season and in the future, and George, like all of us, wants to build this team through the draft. We want to draft and develop our guys and then sign our guys. But free agency is a piece that you can build your team with on a year-to-year basis. Sometimes it's a big one that you're signing for 3, 4, 5 years, you hope. Sometimes it might just be a 1 or 2 year stopgap until you can draft the guy you want. So free agency is a big part of it, but you don't want to live and die by free agency.
Coach, I can't tell you how good it is to see you in person instead of through a screen.
Yeah.
So wish you the best of luck here as we approach free agency, and hopefully we'll see you again in person soon, all right?
All right, I look forward to it.
The NFL agenda is always jam-packed, but the next 2 months will surely keep Fangio, Paton, and the rest of the Broncos staff as busy as ever. Here's a look at some of the most important dates starred on their calendars.
Coming up on Broncos Connected, the Denver Broncos cheerleaders are eager to get back in front of Broncos country this fall, and the preparation for the upcoming season starts now.
Welcome back to Broncos Connected. While George Paton and the Broncos staff are busy building Denver's 2021 roster down here at the UC Health Training Center, up the road out in Power Field at Mile High, the Denver Broncos cheerleaders are building a roster of their own. With 26 positions available for the upcoming season, the iconic team is holding classes for DBC hopefuls and are taking creative measures to ensure aspiring Denver Broncos cheerleaders are prepared for preliminary auditions later this month.
Last year, we sort of pivoted to, like the rest of the world, doing things online. So all of February, all of the women that you will see here tonight have been practicing with us virtually on Tuesday and Thursday nights. I think that a lot of the hiccups that we had early on, people are just gotten used to. These are smart women and they have figured out how to make it work.
It was a little bit of a challenge to find an area where you could dance in your living room or even outside if it was a nice day, but everyone has been safe, healthy, happy. There are a lot of COVID protocols in place to keep us that way. So it's been different, but it's still been feasible.
I think that this year the importance of the prep classes is bigger than ever in that these women haven't been able to connect and dance with each other. So being able to do them in person here at the stadium just sort of ramps us back up like every athlete needs to get in sort of the shape mentally and physically that they need to come and perform at their highest level.
I was so excited when I first found out that they were holding tryouts again. I mean, this past year, ever since that they announced that they weren't going to be taking rookies last year, I feel like I've grown so much as a person, physically and mentally, and I'm just ready to come back this year, and I'm just very excited to be here.
Throughout this process, I think it's our job as veterans to be leaders to, the incoming rookie candidates. I think this whole process is really intimidating, and I think, just being there, being a silent leader, being able to answer questions as the women come up to you and, just showing them how you can be comfortable here. I think that's really our role.
Advice I would give to someone who's trying out for the first time is to just stay true to yourself. It can be a long process where it's easy to compare yourself to the women around you, but remind yourself that you are unique and you have talents that will be appreciated by the Broncos organization. So enjoy the process despite the stressful moments. You will have them. That's totally normal, but remember to smile even under your mask and just enjoy that you get to dance, because if you make the team, if you don't, you'll still gain something from an experience that you gave your all in.
So my whole life I've been cheering on the Broncos. My very first Halloween costume was actually a Denver Broncos cheerleader. So I've just grown to be a part of this community from a very young age. I mean, it would mean the world. It's been 2 years training for this, and I couldn't imagine myself on any other team.
In March, we will also be doing a virtual preliminary, so women will put an application in online. They will receive choreography via video, and they'll have a few days to perfect that choreography and submit it back to us. At that point, a panel of judges will review it, and we will narrow that group of dancers down to a semifinalist group. During that final audition process, there are a lot of other factors, including an interview with our executive staff here at the Broncos, a test on their football knowledge, dance technique. We move quickly and we want to make sure that we have the most qualified applicants.
My favorite part of the process in years past has been our final show because, all your friends and family get to come. And I know that that's going to be a bit different this year, but I really just love watching all the candidates dance. I grew up dancing. Dancing is one of my largest passions in life, and I love seeing all the girls perform and dance their heart out. That has to be one of my favorite parts.
To be a Denver Broncos cheerleader, you have to be personable. You have to care about the community and really be willing to represent something bigger than yourself. But you also have to bring your unique talents and skills to the team. And you're valued for who you are in this organization. So staying true to yourself and your personality is important, but also being a good teammate, being a good person, and being active in your community, all while being willing to dance your heart out.
Coming up, remembering Denver Broncos legend and dear friend to many, Floyd Little.
Welcome back to Broncos Connected. Earlier this year, Broncos country was heartbroken by the passing of legendary running back Floyd Little, who lost his heroic battle with cancer. Floyd Little's impact on this organization could never be overstated, as number 44 put this team on the map during an era of Broncos football that would have otherwise been forgotten.
Well, before Floyd Little came, there was nobody to cheer for. There was nothing to get excited about. You would come to see the opponents. You would come to see the great players on other teams and hope that the Broncos would at least put up a good fight. And if they put up a good fight, there were a lot of moral victories back then.
It was Floyd left, Floyd right, and Floyd up the middle. He was all we had.
He had qualities to him that were far and above his ability as a football player, as a running back. We're talking about leadership, guidance, direction, focus. He had these qualities in a really big way.
I firmly believe that if Floyd Little had not played for Denver, we wouldn't have the Denver Broncos. I'm sure we would probably have another team of some kind, but it wouldn't be the Broncos.
Over the years, I've gotten to know Floyd, and one heck of a man, a legend. You hear people talking about him, and then to actually meet him is really something special. It was really a treat for me to know Floyd Little and just the type of person that he was.
Join us this Saturday evening at 6 o'clock on KUSA Denver as some of those who were closest to him share the stories that epitomize why Floyd Little will forever be known as the franchise. Well, that's all the time we have for this month's edition of Broncos Connected, but be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Broncos TV, and don't forget to subscribe to the Denver Broncos YouTube channel for new Broncos TV content every day. Thanks so much for watching Broncos Connected.